What's up, you guys? It's MB Maniac here with you, and today we are going to be going over what went around week 3 in the NBA, as well as my thoughts on the election, because normally I don't talk about stuff like this, but this year's election was so different than in years past. I do think I should give my 2 cents on it, but first we are going to start off with what you guys came to hear about, and that is what went around the NBA during week 3. Now, most teams have played around 9 or 10 games, which I think is enough to get a good sample size of what the teams are going to look like for the rest of the season. And we're going to start off by looking at the standings in the Eastern Conference. No surprise at the top, Cavaliers sitting at 8-1. You know, they've had some close games, but again, they just look like really dominant. And LeBron is playing a lot better this start of the year than he was last season. So they look like they are really trying for a repeat, as a lot of people probably think the Warriors are just going to cakewalk their way through the playoffs, which I do think the Warriors are going to win the championship. But LeBron James is still the best player in the world, and it's not going to be an easy route, and I'm really excited to see how this team plays the rest of the season. And right behind them, the surprise of the year so far for me in the East is the Hawks, starting 7-2. I thought they would actually lose some more games. You know, I understand Dwight is really good and he has been playing good, but they still lost Jeff Teague. Kyle Korver's a little older, and Paul Millsap, you know, he's not happy with the organization, as he's already stated that he's probably not going to re-sign with them, but they still are rolling through with the W's, man, and that's really impressive to me. And sitting at the 3rd seed under the Hawks is the 7-2 Toronto Raptors. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely did not see DeMar DeRozan's season going the way it has been. I mean, he is leading the league in scoring at 34 points a game, and if he ever develops the 3-point shot, you know, the rest of the league better watch out. And I don't think he'll actually be able to keep this up. You know, he'll probably finish at around 28, 29 points per game, which is still really good, but I could be wrong, man. And if he keeps it up, the Raptors could definitely lock up that 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. And following the Raptors at the 4th seed is the 6-3 Hornets, which is exactly what I expect them to be. You know, good, not great, but definitely a playoff team. Followed by the Bulls at 6-4, the Bucks at 5-4, the Celtics at 5-4, and then the Pistons at 5-5 at the 8th seed. In my standings predictions, I did say that I thought a lot of these teams are going to finish really close to each other, and it's already looking like that's how it's going to be. And after the 8th seed, the teams really start to drop in quality. We got the Nets at 4-5 and the Pacers at 4-6, and I really am disappointed in the Pacers. I thought they were going to be a 2nd seed, and Paul George just hasn't played as well as I thought he would. He's averaging around 20 points a game, which is not bad by any means, but I definitely thought he'd have a stronger start to the season. And if the Pacers want to make the playoffs, I think Paul George really going to have to get more aggressive. You know, I'd like to see him up in that 25, 26 point per game category, because I definitely think he's capable. And the other guys got to pick up some slack as well. You know, Miles Turner, he's still playing pretty well, but the other guys, they're going to have to pick it up if they want to help Paul George get into the top 8 seeds. And after that, not much. You know, the Knicks 3-6, we all knew what they were going to be. The Orlando Magic's 3-6 as well. They're not playing too well, and I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs anyway. Then we've got the Heat, the Wizards, and 76ers at the bottom of the conference. No surprise there. And the Wizards really need to get their stuff together, man. I thought they'd be a little better, especially with new head coach Scott Brooks, but they just haven't been playing good basketball. You know, John Wall, he's averaging around 22-8, but I've been watching him play, and I don't think it's a 22-8 that's really helping his team win. I'd like to see the assists go up, but we'll see how that plays out. Ultimately, they probably won't make the playoffs, which is really sad for me, because I did think they were going to make it this year. And switching over to the Western Conference, the number 1 team is probably the biggest surprise in the West so far, and that is the LA Clippers at 9-1 with really good wins. You know, they beat Oklahoma City, which was the only loss they have, so that was a pretty good win. They got that road win in San Antonio, so they're looking really nice. And the difference has been their bench, no doubt. You know, Mo Spates, he's a beast, and Raymond Felton has played pretty good for them. Austin Rivers is starting to come into his own as a bench player. I think he's finally figured out what his role is going to be in the NBA, so he's playing a lot better. And they still got Jamal Crawford, so definitely a nice team to keep an eye on. And after the Clippers, there's the Warriors at 7-2, and I don't really need to say much. You know, I've said it already. I still think they're ultimately going to be the top seed, and they're just still trying to mesh together. And Klay Thompson is starting to hit his threes, so the league better watch out, man. They are looking like they're starting to play better. At the 3rd seed, we've got the 7-3 San Antonio Spurs, which is exactly where I'd expect them to be. You know, for them, the regular season isn't what it's about. It's about getting to the postseason, and I do think they'll still finish 2nd, but I don't know, man. The way the Clippers are playing, it's definitely not a for sure thing, but I'd like to see how it ends up, as the Thunder are 6-3 after the Spurs. They're also playing well, but I think we're starting to see their lack of depth. You know, Westbrook really has to carry this team, and they do have a nice starting 5, but their bench is just really dropped off in talent. So we'll see if they can keep up their good play. And at the 5th seed, we've got the Utah Jazz at 7-4, and they're really starting to hit their stride. You know, they started off the season without Gordon Hayward and still played pretty good, and now that they have him back, I think they're ready to make a nice run, and they are definitely going to be a playoff team. But after the Jazz, how about the 6th seeded Los Angeles Lakers? Probably the most improved team so far this year. I mean, after a 17-win season, they've already got 6 wins, and it's only the 3rd week, and their young core continues to develop. You know, I think Ingram's starting to get a lot more confidence. Lou Williams has just been playing spectacular, and I think if D'Angelo Russell and Luol Deng can get it going, as he's really been struggling and he's taking up a lot of their cap space, so hopefully he starts to make some shots. But if Deng and Russell do start to pick it up, you know, teams better be careful, because I think this team realistically can make the playoffs this year at the 8th seed, you know, a lot higher than most people had them finishing as we look at the rest of the teams behind them. The Trailblazers at 6-4, they're starting to heat up a little bit after starting 3-4. The Rockets also at 5-4. I think that's what they're going to be. You know, Harden is playing really good, but he doesn't have a whole lot of help, so I think they'll finish around that 500 mark. And the Memphis Grizzlies is a team I can't really figure out. You know, they're still pretty solid. They got Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. They have yet to get Parsons back, but I think once he comes back, they'll improve a little bit, but also another team I see staying around 500. And I'd say the Rockets and the Grizzlies are the 2 teams that are the biggest threat to the Lakers to take up that 8th seed. So if they can stay ahead of those 2 teams, I think they can make it. And after that, we get into the cellar of the Western Conference. The Kings are at 4-7 and starting to look like they're going back to their old ways. You know, Cousins starting to look a little frustrated already this season with all the new coaches and players. And I do suspect he'll be traded, maybe to the Lakers, you know, who knows. But I do think this is the last season he will be in a Kings uniform. After that, we've got the Nuggets at 3-6 and the Suns at 3-7. Another young team, you know, they'll probably be better next season, but it'll be a struggle this year. The Mavericks at 2-6, you know, they're pretty depleted, no Dirk still. And then we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves at 2-6, and this is probably the biggest disappointment so far, as a lot of people thought this team would pick it up, but they still can. You know, it's really early in the season, and it looks like they're going to be 3-6 as I speak. They are beating up on my Lakers. And then we've got the Pelicans at 1-9, and same story here. Anthony Davis is amazing. The rest of his teammates aren't, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up for week 3. But before I go, I just wanted to give my thoughts on the 2016 presidential election. Now, on election day, a lot of people were probably going in expecting Hillary to absolutely blow Trump out of the water. And November 8th at around 11:30 p.m. Pacific time, we all learned that we just saw the biggest upset in U.S. political history and arguably world history, because Donald Trump winning the presidency was not foreseen by many at all. And although election day was really entertaining as we were just all glued to our seats, it's ultimately over, and we just have to accept the results. A lot of people are really upset that Hillary didn't win. I know there's protests going on all across the country, and I understand the frustration, but at the end of the day, you know, that shouldn't be happening. I think what we need to do is stick together as a country. You know, protesting as much as you want, you know, he's probably still going to get in the office, and, you know, I'm really interested to see how Inauguration Day goes, because I'm sure there will be tons of protesters. And I'm not saying that it's okay at what Trump has said. You know, he said some shady things, but at the end of the day, he's our president. You know, you can say he's not my president all you want, but under the Constitution, he is. And ultimately, like a lot of other people, you know, Charles Barkley, all those analysts are saying, you just got to give him a chance and hope that he does a good job for the country. We are going to hold all the things he promised against us, you know, as we do with all politicians, but I just think that he's getting a little too much backfire, and, you know, we need to support him, and if we don't, you know, I think that's just going to make things potentially worse. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Any questions, comments, feedback you have for me, let me know in the comment section below. Signing off as always, MB Maniac out.